I got one last question, then I'll open it up to the floor if you would be willing to do.
Sure.
that. It's a question about technology. Certain artists that I have a lot of respect for, musicians, visual artists, whatnot, feel there's like almost a responsibility to be aware of new materials, new technology changes in those things and apply them to their work. And then there are people like me who are grumpy, and I have enough trouble with my conventional instruments, so I kind of work with people who have those skills.
Right.
So, instead of figuring out how to work with a laptop like you were doing, I work with Christoph Kurtzman.
Right.
And say, okay, man, go at it. And I was just wondering how you feel about technology, because obviously a lot of your soul set was geared towards interacting with new equipment and new sounds, new approaches. And is that something you feel that is like imperative for you, or just a curiosity, or how do you think about that in terms of your own artistic work?
I definitely wouldn't call it imperative, because I do have the nights that I love showing up to play music with just a trombone. And how to integrate the technology is interesting because, I've been doing the computer stuff for a while, but I've been playing the trombone a lot longer. And I feel like there are things that are just infinitely more expressive when I have a trombone in my hands, because I know how that works. Mm-hmm. Whereas like trying to get the computer to do something in this expressive way can be difficult. So one of the things I try to do is I try to only use the computer to do things that I can't get other humans to do. Right? So the IMP was the improvising program, interactive musical partner. There's a long tradition in computer music of bad acronyms. So I was going to call it the parametric improvising musical partner, but I didn't do that. I try not, like, somebody asked me when I was working on it, they're like, well, why is it so computery sounding? I'm like, because it's a computer. Like, I don't want it to play saxophone samples. If I wanted to play with saxophone player, I'd call you or Dave or who, there's like 1,000 saxophone players I could play with. Like, well, I don't need to make a computer play like a saxophone player. I want it to do a different thing. And actually, the act of building that thing was much more about me discovering what I find compelling in an improvised interaction than about actually making that a great musical experience. Like, the act of building it was much more informative to me. Like, the goal wasn't the end result. The goal was what I would learn in the process of making it. The end results can be informative as well, because, you set the timer for 8 minutes and you're 6 minutes in and you're like, wow, this thing should be over, but the computer's going to keep playing for 2 more minutes. So how do I turn this into good music between now and then? But it like really makes me interrogate, okay, what are the things that I find interesting? What is compelling in those ways? Mm-hmm. And something like the other thing that was just doing the sampling, it was kind of a way of time shifting myself. How can I be in 2 places at once? Or how can I keep doing this thing while I do something else? So there's some philosophical issues around those things that I find the computer allows me to ask those questions in some more interesting ways. Mm-hmm. The composition at the end was all about messing with my reality. So the computer plays the stuff that I played back in different ways. Kind of like that thing where somebody says, oh, I heard you said so-and-so about such and such. And you're like, that's actually not at all what I said. But, it goes out in the world and gets twisted. So some of times the technology allows you to explore these other kind of more philosophical ideas through sound in ways that I couldn't do with just a trombone. Mm-hmm. Or even with a choir of trombones to tell them, okay, what you need to do is play exactly what I play, but 500 milliseconds later and up a half step. That's a thing that the computer does really well that people don't do well. Mm-hmm. But if you want to lock eyes with someone and really have this responsive musical interaction, that just works better with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right.